Look at that sky. There's two, lessons that I'd like to sort of share. Both which happened many, many years ago and have stayed with me and will stay with me forever. One of them was from an old teacher, and I guess that's where you expect a lot of lessons to come from. And the other one was from basically a toddler. And yet both lessons are equally as important to the life I've chosen as a creative person. And they're also both linked to the whole idea of looking at a sky like this and a sunset like this, and as we near this corner up here, just the open countryside and how beautiful it is. The lesson from my teacher was many years ago. I was in the army as a musician, and I was at the School of Music at the time, and there were 3 of us who were French horn players, and we had an old gentleman who played in one of the main orchestras over here, who was our teacher. And one day he turned up to the base and said to the commander that he was going to take the 3 of us out to lunch. And we were all, awesome, fantastic, we get off the base for a while. And he took us to a nearby hotel, pub, bar, whatever you want to call it. And he bought us lunch, and he bought us some drinks. You know, we had wine or beer with lunch, and then sort of, port or brandy or whatever afterwards. And the other two horn players were a fair bit younger than me, and they were just having a good time. Yay, we're not on the base, we're getting to, be bought lunch, have some drinks, it's all awesome. And I was enjoying myself, but I knew there had to be more to it than that. And so after lunch, while we're sort of sitting, drinking our port, I turned to Alex, who was the teacher, and I said, okay, Alex, this is great, but why? And he gave me this sly grin, because I think he was really hoping that somebody would ask, and I think he was very happy that somebody had asked. And he said to me, well, what is it that you do? It's like, well, we're musicians. I guess you could say we are artists in a broader sense. And he's like, yes. And music, art and music especially, is one of the main ways that we communicate emotions. Happy, sad, triumphant, loss, all of these sorts of things. And he said to me, how on earth is any artist supposed to be able to convey these emotions if they don't experience them? You need to go out, you need to live, you need to love, you need to lose. You need to go through glorious victory and horrible defeat. You need to suffer tragedy, otherwise how can you possibly convey it to somebody else? And so for him, us being stuck on an army base day after day after day just practicing had technical merit, but it was failing in that realm of exposing us to the world and exposing us to life. And this is actually one of the reasons why a lot of artists get better after they've traveled, after they've gotten to see different cultures and they've been influenced by those cultures, and they've been scared when they've gone into the supermarket and they've looked at a can of something and they've thought, well, this is either ice cream or fish, or it could actually be fish ice cream. I've been there. And so this is one of the most important lessons I was ever taught, and I will value this. And the other lesson is just as important. And yet the circumstances under that were completely random. I never met the individual. I've never spoken to the individual. I don't even know their name. But for a while, I was living in an apartment above a restaurant in a street in Melbourne that had lots of restaurants. And our kitchen looked over the car park at the back of the restaurant. And the restaurant owners had kids. 2 young boys and a very, very young girl. The girl was 2, maybe 3 years old. She could barely walk. And one day I was just eating breakfast or whatever, and I was looking out the window and I could see the 2 boys were just playing amongst themselves, running around the car park. And the girl was out there. They were keeping an eye on her, so she was safe. But I was watching this toddler, and she was getting up and walking around and leaning against the cars because she couldn't walk very well. And I watched the look on her face as she made her way, using her hands for support. She made her way along one of the cars that were parked there. It may have been her parents' car, I don't know. And when she got to the front corner of the car, she paused. She couldn't see what was around the front of the car, so she paused. It was almost like she was building up the will to go into territories unknown, because that's exactly what she was doing. And then she, after this pause, and probably making sure she didn't fall over, she moved around to the front of the car. And the look on her face, the look of sheer delight and discovery. And what was around the front of the car, from the side of the car? The front of the car! Oh my Lord, what a discovery. But this is the thing, for her it was a discovery. She had no idea what was there. She had no idea that if you made your way along the side of the car and turned the corner, you'd discover the front of the car, because at her age, there was no context for that. So every little thing that she would see was a new discovery. We lose that. We lose that as adults. Again, I'm going to say, look at this sky. I had never seen this exact sky ever. I've seen skies like it. I know that at this time of day, there's a fairly good chance that there's going to be colourful clouds as the sun comes down and we get interesting light. But I've never seen this sky ever. And I think we forget that. And I heard a quote the other day that broke my heart. It was somebody talking about when, I went and saw the latest whatever superhero film. I didn't really care. It was okay, but I've gotten over those times when I care about a film. I know I'm not going to be affected by the film. I just go in and watch it. It'll be okay. But I'm too old. I no longer go in and get excited about films. I no longer get in and go in and suspend disbelief when I go to a film. I'm over all of that. I wanted to grab this person and shake them. I couldn't believe that they had given up on the magic. I couldn't believe that they no longer had the opportunity to be 10 years old and surprised or inspired or think things are magic. I know how films are made. I've worked in the industry long enough, not film industry, but games. I know, to use the term, I know how the sausage is made. I know the heartache and the struggle and the sacrifices that go into making film and television. But when I sit down in the cinema, when the lights go down, I refuse to acknowledge that for the next 90 minutes or 2 hours. I go back in and I'm 10 years old again, because I need that magic in my life. This is what we all do. We create that magic, and it is so critically important. I allow myself to enjoy that magic, to live and breathe that magic, for it to trigger me in so many different ways, so many joyous and glorious and horrible and terrible ways. And it breaks my heart that people don't. And it doesn't matter how many times I've seen the film. The things that I need to happen in the film, when they happen, bring me so much joy. I watch Avengers Endgame. I watch Captain America getting the shit kicked out of him. And then I hear the radio message. And I hear Falcon say, "On your left." And I may as well be in that world, because I have the desperate need for the cavalry to arrive. And when those portals open up and every single hero that we've wanted to see, that we've been watching for years and years and years, steps through, and we know the cavalry has arrived, and we know that this is the triumphant end to a story, and we are going to get to cheer and yell and scream and watch the good guys win. I need that in the films that I watch. And when that happens, it is a glorious experience. And I'm 10 years old and I'm cheering for the good guys, and it touches me every time, because I let it. because I've not let cynicism take over my life and color me in such a way that being an adult is this eternal state of grey. And if you want to be a creative person and you want to work in the creative industry, you need to let those moments touch you. You need to understand how important they are. Even as somebody who works in a creative industry, I also am a consumer, I'm a customer, and those things to me are so important. And those accomplishments of the people who make those things, I am their target market, and I love every second of them. And I appreciate even more the time and effort and sacrifice that goes into making them. So don't let the people around you lose that ability to switch off and be 10 years old again, to be a child for 90 minutes. We've got the rest of every single day that we can be adults and look at the world and be depressed by it and be stressed by it. But when you are playing a game or watching a TV series or in an art gallery looking at the artworks or listening to a wonderful piece of music, let go of being an adult and please allow yourself to just enjoy the craftsmanship of all those people who have put their heart and their spirit and their magic into creating these things. And that'll do for a rant for the moment.